The sun was just rising over the sprawling city of Lagos, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Down on a quieter street, away from the skyscrapers and polished glass offices, a young woman named Amara was folding laundry in the backyard of a large white mansion. Her hands moved quickly, but her mind was far away. She was thinking about the aching blisters on her feet, the hunger gnawing in her stomach, and the constant, biting words of her employer. Amara was 22, but life had aged her. Her face was beautiful in a quiet, unassuming way, almond eyes, deep brown skin that glowed under sunlight, and a slender figure shaped by years of labor. She had been working as a maid for the Adekunle family for nearly 2 years, sent there by her late mother's friend after her parents died in a road accident. The pay was meager, but it kept her fed, clothed, and with a roof over her head. Or so she thought. From the kitchen window, Madame Adekunle's sharp voice rang out. "Amara! You're folding those clothes too slowly. Do you think you came here for holiday?" Amara froze. "I'm almost done, Ma." "Don't speak back to me. You lazy thing." The words stabbed at her like they always did. Amara lowered her head, biting her lip to keep from responding. She had learned long ago that answering back only made things worse. By midday, the house was quiet. The Adekunles were out attending a social event. Amara quickly swept the living room, dusted the shelves, and mopped the marble floors until they gleamed. Her stomach rumbled. She hadn't eaten since a piece of bread at dawn. She quietly opened the fridge, hoping for something small, but Madame's strict rule echoed in her mind, "Never touch our food unless I say so." She shut the fridge and poured herself a glass of water instead. At around 6 p.m., the front door burst open. Madame Adekunle stormed in, her face red with fury. Behind her was her teenage daughter, busy, holding a designer purse that looked suspiciously empty. "Amara!" Madame's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. "Where is the diamond necklace that was on my dressing table?" Amara blinked in confusion. I don't know, Ma. I haven't been in your room today." "Liar!" Busy spat. "I saw you cleaning there yesterday. You probably stole it and sold it." Amara's knees weakened. "I swear, I didn't." Before she could finish, Madame slapped her so hard her ears rang. "You ungrateful thief! Get out of my house this instant. You will never work in this city again." There was no investigation, no chance to prove her innocence. Madame Adekunle dragged her to the servant quarters, shoved a small bag of her belongings into her arms, and pushed her out the front gate. The evening air was cool, but Amara felt like she was burning inside. The gates closed behind her with a metallic clang, sealing off the place she had called home for 2 years. She had no money, no family, nowhere to go. She walked aimlessly down the dimly lit streets, her slippers slapping against the pavement. Lagos at night was both alive and dangerous. Street vendors called out their wares, the smell of suya and roasted corn filled the air, and motorbikes zoomed past. But beneath it all lurked pickpockets, con men, and worse. By midnight, she found herself sitting on a bench outside a closed pharmacy. Her stomach twisted painfully. She wanted to cry, but the tears refused to come. Then, a black SUV slowed down in front of her. The tinted window rolled down, and a man's voice, deep, confident, and curious, called out. "Miss? Are you all right?" Amara turned her head slowly. The man in the driver's seat was unlike anyone she had ever met. He looked to be in his late 20s, dressed in a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, a wristwatch that gleamed under the streetlight. His eyes, sharp yet kind, studied her with genuine concern. "I'm fine," she lied, though her voice trembled. "You don't look fine," he said, stepping out of the car. He was tall, with broad shoulders, and there was something about him, a quiet authority, as though he was used to people listening when he spoke. "Do you live around here?" Amara hesitated. "No, not anymore." The man's gaze softened. "Come on. It's not safe for you to be sitting here alone." Amara's instinct screamed caution. She didn't know him. But the exhaustion in her body overpowered her suspicion. She allowed him to lead her to the car. Inside, the leather seats felt like heaven compared to the cold bench. He handed her a bottle of water and asked, "What's your name?" "Amara," she murmured. "I'm David," he replied. "David Olumide." The name sounded familiar, but her tired mind didn't place it. "Why were you out there alone at this hour?" She told him everything, the false accusation, the slap, the gate shutting in her face. He listened without interrupting, his jaw tightening at certain points. When she finished, he said, "You shouldn't worry. Sometimes, life throws us out of places where we don't belong, to lead us somewhere better." It sounded like something a motivational speaker would say, but his tone made it feel real. Most loyal people are found in the most unexpected places. She looked into his eyes and saw no mockery, only sincerity. But deep inside, she couldn't shake the fear that this kindness was too good to last. Because in her world, good things didn't come without a hidden cost. Amara stared at David for a long moment, trying to decide if this was a cruel trick or a blessing in disguise. Something in his steady gaze made her want to trust him, and yet, her mind kept replaying Madame Adekunal's voice calling her a thief. "What kind of project?" she asked cautiously. David smiled. "It's better if I show you." Within an hour, they were in his SUV again, weaving through Lagos traffic until the buildings grew taller and more expensive. They stopped in front of a sleek glass tower with the words Olumide Group etched in gold above the entrance. Inside, the lobby was a world away from anything Amara had known: marble floors, the scent of fresh lilies, and a reception desk where staff in tailored suits greeted David with, "Good morning, sir." Amara felt small in her simple floral dress and worn sandals. He led her to the top floor, into a spacious office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "This," David said, "is where I run my section of the company. But lately, I've been working on a charity initiative for young women from disadvantaged backgrounds. I need someone I can trust to help coordinate it." Amara blinked. "Why me?" "Because you've lived the struggle we're trying to address," he said simply. "And because I believe in giving people a chance, no matter where they start." Her throat tightened. No one had ever spoken to her that way before. The next days were a blur. David arranged for her to get a few outfits suitable for the office. She learned to use a computer, answer calls, and organize documents. She wasn't perfect, but she was determined, and for the first time in years, she felt useful in a way that didn't involve scrubbing floors. But with the new life came whispers. Some staff members eyed her with open suspicion, wondering why a billionaire's son had suddenly hired an unqualified young woman. One afternoon, while Amara was carrying files to the meeting room, she overheard two women from the accounting department. "She came from nowhere," one whispered. "Don't be fooled," the other said. "Girls like that don't get here without giving something in return." Amara's stomach dropped. She hurried away before they could see her. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the look on David's face when he told her she was perfect for the role. Was it kindness, or something else? The next day, her doubts deepened when David invited her to a gala dinner. "It's for the charity launch," he explained. "You'll be helping with the guest list." She wanted to refuse, she didn't belong in that world. But something told her this event was important. At the dinner, the room glittered with wealth, men in tuxedos, women in shimmering gowns, crystal chandeliers reflecting golden light. Cameras flashed as David moved from table to table, introducing Amara as my new project coordinator. She noticed how some people smiled politely, while others barely concealed their disapproval. And then, across the room, she saw Madame Adekunal. Her former employer froze mid-conversation, her eyes narrowing as they locked on Amara. Slowly, a cruel smile spread across her face. "Oh, this is going to be trouble," Amara thought, her heart hammering in her chest. Because Madame Adekunal was not the kind of woman to watch quietly when someone she despised began to rise. And if there was one thing Amara knew for certain, it was that Madame would not stop until she ruined her again. Madame Adekunle wasted no time. By the following week, whispers about Amara had doubled in the office. Some staff avoided her, others looked at her with thinly veiled disdain. It didn't take long before David summoned her to his office, his face unreadable. "Amara," he began, "I've been hearing things. Rumors that you were fired from your last job for theft." The air in the room felt suddenly heavy. "It's not true," she said firmly, her voice trembling. "I was accused, but I never took anything." Amara stopped herself, realizing how desperate she sounded. David leaned back in his chair, watching her closely. "I want to believe you. But the board is asking questions. If these rumors continue, they could jeopardize the charity project." It was clear he was under pressure. And Madame Adekunle's hand in this was obvious. Her connections reached into almost every social circle in Lagos. That evening, as Amara left the office, she found Madame Adekunle waiting by the curb, leaning against her sleek black car. My, Madame said with a mock smile. "You've climbed high, little maid. But you know what they say, the higher you go, the harder you fall." Amara clenched her fists. "Why are you doing this? Haven't you done enough?" Madame's smile widened. "You embarrassed me the day you walked out without crawling back to beg. Now, I'll make sure everyone sees you for what you are, a desperate girl chasing rich men." Amara turned away before Madame could see the tears forming in her eyes. That night, she considered quitting. But the thought of going back to sleeping on benches, of letting Madame win, burned in her chest. No, she wasn't going to run this time. The next morning, she walked into David's office with a folder. "Sir," she said, her voice steady, "if the board doubts me, let's clear it up. I'll submit to a public investigation. Police, private detectives, anyone. I have nothing to hide." David studied her, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of admiration in his eyes. "Are you sure?" "Yes," she said. "I'd rather face this now than live under suspicion." The investigation was swift. David's lawyers moved faster than Madame expected. Security footage from the Adekunle mansion revealed something shocking. On the night the necklace went missing, it was Beezy, not Amara, who had entered the bedroom. A pawnshop receipt in Beezy's name sealed the truth. When the findings were released, the story flipped overnight. Media outlets praised Amara for her courage, and the charity's credibility soared. Madame Adekunle's public image, however, suffered a quiet but sharp blow. One evening, David called Amara to the rooftop of the Olumide Group building. The city lights shimmered below them. "You fought with dignity," he said. "Most people would have walked away." Amara smiled faintly. "I've walked away too many times before." David extended a hand. "Stay on with the project. There's a lot more we can do together." She shook his hand, but in her heart, she knew this wasn't about gratitude or favors. It was about proving, to herself and the world, that her worth didn't depend on anyone's permission. As she looked out over the city, Amara realized something profound. Life had thrown her out of a locked door only to open a new one, but it was her choice to walk through it and build something lasting. And the moral was clear: sometimes, the people who try to bury you are the ones who end up planting you.